I want to say, is this the real life or is this just fantasy? Because Goldie Chan is here. And the reason I've dragged Goldie and the reason I made Carrie in the comments, become a co-person is because I get to hear through Carrie and others what an absolutely good person Goldie is, way too much. And so I see all these nice things being said. Carrie says all these nice things. Amber Osborne, all your little Adobe pals, tell me how cool you are. And all I know about you, there's two things that anyone would know, and they wouldn't know it looking at your beautiful visage right now, is that you're obviously known for your super, super green hair. That's question number one when we get over this intro. And then you're known as this person who makes LinkedIn actually worth logging into. Goldie Chan, welcome. And also tell me just a little bit about you this morning in this moment.
Well, first of all, hello. And I think it's funny, you're the second person to mention this because I've been wearing my hair up like this 2 days in a row. And my roots, as you can see, are growing out.
They're almost not roots anymore.
I know, it's at this point, it's just my hair. Mm-hmm. I'm going in July 1st to get my hair done because hilariously, my amazing hairstylist is coming back from her spiritual journey trip for the last few months that she's been gone on. And I'm pretty excited to get my hair back to green. But yeah, how am I doing this morning? It's 7 a.m. I have, I don't know if you guys see it. I have my little tiki water guy to hydrate
You're ready to roll.
In the AM. And what else? Oh, LinkedIn. Yes, LinkedIn.
Yeah, so I would normally post this in the comments, but a lot of people don't realize you graduated from Stanford. You're very bright. I don't think you get nearly enough credit for it. Personal branding expert, left a career and started posting daily videos on LinkedIn when nobody was doing that.
Yeah. So it's so funny to think back on it. So that was 2017. I actually just finished up a head of marketing role at a startup, and I was living in LA. I was working remotely in New York. So I was this. I was just I was doing the alternate time zone calls and flying back and forth quite a bit. And I was just I need a month off, a sabbatical, quote unquote, before getting a real job again. So I thought in this 1 month sabbatical, 2 weeks in, I got into the LinkedIn video beta and I thought, why don't I just make some videos so it looks like I wasn't, doing nothing during this time during my sabbatical. So I started making videos and 1 became 2, 2 became 12, 12 became 20. And then that ended up being 2 consecutive years of daily videos, mostly on marketing and branding, and mostly, a lot of not sleeping, which Carrie has seen me when I am dying and need to sleep, because we did a really cute girls trip to Dallas earlier this year, which I'm really glad we were able to do. But yeah, so it's been a wild journey. I'm an official Halloween costume at LinkedIn, which is pretty hilarious.
I didn't know they had official Halloween costumes.
Yeah, one day I woke up, it was Halloween. It was about a year into me doing video content. And I had already posted my daily video. And I think we're about I was maybe 80 or 90 days in actually into my daily video journey. And I got all these texts. I kept getting texts and people were like, you need to log back on right away. You have to see this. And so I logged back on, and the head of video, who's a really sweet guy, Peter Roybal, had dressed up as me for Halloween. They had made a paper cutout of the LinkedIn video frame. He bought a green wig. And because, most of the time in my videos, I wear a hoodie or whatever. So he had this hoodie, they had the green wig, they had a cap on over over the green hair. And it was him doing a selfie video like I usually do. And it just said thank you to Goldie Chan and all the other LinkedIn video creators. And it was funny because that was 80, 90 days into consecutive daily videos. And I thought, now I actually thought this was something, because let me tell you, the first 30, 60 days, this is obviously what I call PK, pre-Carrie era. PKE. In the PK, I mean, because I think if Carrie and I had been friends during that time, Carrie would have been like, this is awesome. Just do you, because Carrie's really cool about that. And Carrie's very cool. Everyone follow Carrie if you don't already. But you know, no one in my inner circle was saying, do this. In fact, every single person, most of whom I'm no longer even friends with, because literally LinkedIn drove them out of my lives, if you can believe it. Everyone said I was stupid. Like everyone was just like, this is the most dumb thing you could spend your time on. Like, you can't even monetize these videos. Like, what are you doing? Get a real job. You know, like all of this stuff that people say when you're doing something new. And that's how I knew I was doing something new, is how much people violently disliked it and told me it was dumb. That's how I always know I'm onto something, is the moment somebody tells me it's really stupid. In life, I mean, either it actually is really stupid. I mean, there's a high chance it's actually really stupid, or it's not really stupid, and actually it's so smart that people don't know it's smart, right?
They don't get it yet.
They don't get it because, and honestly, did I get it? No, I just was doing it. And even 3 months in, I was like, I'm still waiting to get my next job. Like, shoot, I should really get a real job. At the time, not my current agency, which is wonderful and definitely exists, and I'm running it with my dear friend Sophia.
Definitely exists.
But
not a cover for an elite like spy organization.
I know. I think everyone maybe on this, watching this or on this call even understands. Sometimes you make shit up. Excuse my French.
You're talking to the king of making that.
I know. I made up a fake agency. Once again, not the current agency, which is very much registered and very real.
Warm Robots, everyone.
Warm Robots. Follow it for all of your strategy work. But I didn't have a real agency. And what's crazy is I had a fake placeholder agency, you know, so you don't have that gap of employment on LinkedIn. Woohoo! And my fake agency, now. I know. Now I can admit it. At the time, thank you to everyone who hired me at the time and my agency at the time. Bless. But, you know, at the time it wasn't a real agency. It was definitely a very fake agency. And I was getting real clients. Like, I got some huge heavy hitters that I was working for. And now I have these very awesome, legitimate clients that are also heavy hitters I work for. But at the time they would hire me directly as a contractor because I just feel like, well, my business is a little bit of flux. It was a 0% existing business. That was the flux that it was in.
So let's pause a minute, because I think that there's a bunch of people here looking at this who, first off, didn't know why the very first question was about green stuff, you know. And by the way, talk about like such a double-edged branding sword of being known as like a girl with green hair, because people spend all this time talking about the green hair and not the time talking about, like, you might have a brain, you may have graduated from Stanford, you may actually have something to contribute. They also attach a lot of your sort of looks and imagery and all that as, she's young, she can't know anything, she's probably ditzy because she likes these cool poppy, you know, things. For all they know, until they meet you, they don't understand anything of your cultural awareness. And so they're like, well, she probably doesn't even know what's going on in this country. People in Oklahoma won't like her. See where I'm going with all this? So now you work with people. You have all the qualifications. Like, this is not the question. The question is, how do you get them to stop noveltyizing you? That's a real word, just like you had a real agency. How do you get them to stop noveltyizing you and go, oh, wait a second. And what is it you sell them at the table? What's at the table when you sit down and like, you guys need to give me a bag of money and here's what you're doing? What is that?
Absolutely. So I think you bring up such a good point, because, you know, there are so many people, probably even people watching this, right, who get in the door because people are just interested in them. For me, it's like very much like a visual interest, because normally when my roots are done, my hair is bright green, and either you like it or you don't. It's very polarizing. And in fact, it's funny because I've had calls. I remember an organization in the US, which I will not name, and maybe run by lawyers, and is very famous, and they're very awesome. But they literally like what I say, but they didn't like the green hair. So they asked me to send in an older headshot where I didn't have green hair, or make it black and white, which then makes my hair gray, another unnatural color for how old I look, right? So, but that worked for them. And so they're like, we actually like your expertise, but you are not appropriate for our very conservative audience. And I thought that was interesting. And I get both sides. I either get, you have the green hair, we're going to bring you in because we think you'll be like a 12-year-old child running amok, which is not the case. Or they're like, we actually really enjoy your expertise, but your physical appearance is too different for us. So we're going to, I've had people literally take my talks and put like an older white man as the cover of it. Like it's really, wink, wink. It's really interesting to watch people have to put that layer over it. And then there's the middle ground, which is they bring me in, they think I might have expertise, but they're not sure. They're really looking at my following on LinkedIn and social platforms. And, you know, one of the things I do when I get in the door, which everyone should do when they get in the door and people are not sure of them, is to really take a step back and come in. I always feel like come in so strongly, right? I like to come in, I like to shake hands really firmly. I like to stand my ground and take up my space because people expect me, quite frankly, to not. You know, they expect me to be ditzy. They expect me to be really bubbly all the time. And I am so happy to be happy, but if I'm there for business, I'm going to come in and be very strong, very assertive, and stand my ground, take up space. And I think that, you know, especially women, that I think is really, really tough to do because we're so taught to not do that and to not take up space and to be really quiet in the background. Shy and retiring.
The queen of shy and retiring, Goldie. So
Carrie, you are so shy and retiring. It's ridiculous.
You work harder than anybody I've ever seen, Goldie. So never mind. Like daily videos, we're not just talking about throwaway videos. We're talking about you did production on them. They were edited. They looked really polished and nice. And then when we went together to an Adobe event, a lot of people go to events and they're there, you know, part of the brand's team, but they're not like doing an excessive amount of work. They are just there. You know, maybe they tweet a little bit, but you were taking video constantly, even at the end of a very long day, filled with sessions, filled with events. You brought your phone out and you were like, I said I would do a live stream, so I'm doing it. And I was like, damn, girl. Like the rest of us are wilting, ready to go find some ice cream or something, or maybe some beer. I don't know, whatever your thing is. But you're working still. So do you have to work harder because of the way you look or the way people perceive you?
You know, I wish I could say, no, everyone just looks at me and then there's no misconceptions whatsoever. And once again, I think that this is true of everyone, right? Like if you look a certain way and they instantly think something, if it's to your advantage, that's great, right? And if it's not, in my case, because I work in really high level areas where no one in the room looks like me, even if I didn't have green hair. I mean, Carrie and I, you know this, we've both been in rooms where we just don't look like the other people in the room at all. And so when you don't look like the people in the room, you have to take up just as much space as everyone else who is in that room. And not only that, you have to start trying to make space at the table for other people who also don't look like what the typical demographic is in the room. I did at VidCon last year, one of the one of the few panels, and VidCon is working very hard on fixing this, panels that was all people of color, right? And it was really important for me to bring in all creators who were people of color onto the stage. So there was a panel that showed what it could look like. And I thought that was just the one. But like I said, this year VidCon is actually so amazing. And I'm so thankful to be on their board because they've definitely changed their tune, and they've been wanting to change their tune for a while. And so a lot of their programming this year, at least a third to a half, is actually looking like that, which it's insane considering what it looked like last year to
but
this
you pay
year.
a price for that. You think we pay a price for just having opinions in a room full of people who don't look like us? Good luck telling them, hey guys, I'm pretty sure you're ignoring like whole swaths of people just because they don't look like us. That's like the last thing they want to hear.
Yeah, so I'm definitely out. I know when I should probably not speak up. And Carrie, you've definitely been there to see this. And I will just do it anyways, especially if I believe that morally it's the right thing to do, to speak up in a space that everyone doesn't look like me and there's no one else speaking up. I think that it's so important to be that sticky wheel or sticky, whatever it is. I'm very tired.
Squeaky wheel. It gets sticky
wheel.
when you hit it with WD-40 to fix the squeak.
That's right.
Sticky wheel. That doesn't make any sense. What am I trying to say?
It's very early. Wheel.
So it's so important to be that squeaky wheel when no one else does. I spoke at a conference last year and I love the audience in this conference. It was all women of color. And they had this woman speak before me who is not a woman of color, and she was much older, and she's on all these boards. She's so like wonderfully impressive. And her takeaway for all the women in the room, which I was horrified at, because she spoke right before me, and people actually got up and left during her talk. Thanks, lady.
Chris leaves during everybody's talk, by the way. Don't be offended if it happens to you someday.
I know everybody who's leaving the room right now. Sorry if you expected something differently.
No, I mean, when anybody's talking.
I just have anxiety, so I leave midway when I'm like flipped out. But
I feel that so strongly,
what did she tell people?
So she told
they left.
Beautiful room of, also she didn't actually prep a talk, which I thought was really offensive. So she came in with literally a notepad and was taking notes as she's talking. And let me tell you, Chris, I think you and I have been in the room, Carrie too, when there are dynamic speakers who could do that, and they're beautiful, right? And they can come in with 3 words and make an entire talk off of it. And you're just like, how do you do this? You're wonderful. And this woman was not that person. And so people were both falling asleep and offended, which I was like, wow, that's impressive. 2 in 1. But she told all these beautiful young women of color in the room, she's like, I'm on all these boards. She was like, it's already hard enough for me as a white woman to get in. She's like, it's impossible for you. And I was just like,
nice.
I was sitting there and I was like, oh my God, oh my God. I remember the story of Maleficent, where you have the 3 good fairies come in. They're interrupted by Maleficent, who's like, I hereby curse you. And that's how I felt right after her talk. I was like, oh, I'm like last good fairy. I have to say or do something, because these women are almost crying because she's saying such terrible, discouraging things. And this was a very powerful woman. And what I was hoping she would have said at some point during this talk is like, I've gotten on these boards. I'm happy to talk to you after about how you can also get on these boards.
She should make room on her boards for other women. And
put some room on the board.
Yeah.
Make some room on the board.
It's time for another 90-degree segue. Look how awesome that graphic is. Look how it is absolutely not an awesome graphic. Get going, Dan Gorgon. Listen, I want to talk about something that people aren't aware of about you, because there's still people who have no idea what you do. Because I said, what do you do? And you said this really long story that had nothing about what you do.
No, absolutely.
So it's an agency, and it is a real agency.
Yeah, I got a real agency. But you can go to IMDb and find a shit ton of Goldie Chan, that's for sure. And one thing I found kind of interesting when I'm on this IMDb page is you play, this is weird, because I don't know why they decided to pick this, but you play a lot of Asian roles. Yeah, you play Ms. Yu, and you play Yang, and you play, no lie, Asian salon stylist, and you play the only one that's actually not actually branded that way is just Elevator Girl, but also Asian girl texter. That is so weird to me. I'm not sure. How did you end up starting to get cast, typecast as an Asian?
Well, it started out with being born as an Asian, and then we went from there. It's so funny because I had a couple years where I was doing acting, and I was doing quite a bit of background acting. I ironically in LA, the first time I lived in LA. And it was such a nutty experience. And it's actually how I became a producer in the Producers Guild, which fits me a lot better, I think. So I was doing the whole acting thing. I actually caused nearly a riot, which I think Carrie and Chris, you'll both appreciate, in one of my acting classes, because it was Scientology based. And I didn't know that when I started, and I had no familiarity with Scientology. And so when I realized that it was that, I started asking a lot of questions, and you're never supposed to ask questions. And I asked too many questions.
Like, you guys know this makes no sense, right? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I just was like, hey, I don't believe in this. And they're like, no, you have to just that's part of acting. You blindly believe in things. And I was like, no, I'm still a person. I don't think you should ever blindly believe in anything. You should be questioning all the time. And this did not go over well in my Scientology-based acting class. Although they liked me a lot.
Every role you ever wanted in like Clearwater, Florida, too. So.
Oh man, that would be rough.
Major down part of your career.
I don't need to do that. No.
So why jump from acting over to doing something different, taking a more traditional business career, which is where you started before you came over to LinkedIn?
Right. So I had been, that was like this hilarious, like couple year segue in between doing my digital marketing career. And there was like a couple years where I was doing both. I was doing some acting and I was doing my digital marketing. So I kind of never left it. And I feel like for some of us, there's careers that we always try to step away from, and we are never able to step away from because it just magnetically pulls us back in. And that's what social media has, I think, always been for me. And I remember one of my first jobs at a startup in the Bay Area, they were just like, well, you're the youngest person on the team, so can you do this Facebook thing? Like, can you make a blog? They're like, we think we need a blog for the company. Can you just go make one? And I'm like, I have no flipping idea how to make a blog from scratch. This is not what I studied in school. But I think that's the cool thing about digital marketing is that you can learn it all yourself, and you don't need school to learn it. And certainly there's a lot of education that's out there right now. So you can go and like learn how to make a blog from scratch yourself. You can learn how to do Twitter.
You can learn how to develop a personal brand.
You can learn how to develop a personal brand. You can do all this stuff online without an official degree. And I have a degree from Stanford, but it's not probably the one everyone thinks I have. I graduated with a degree.
Like culinary arts or something.
Yeah, that would be so cool. No, I actually got a degree in biology. I was doing genetics research when I graduated. So I've actually been published in like a scientific research paper thing. And that's how I know that I didn't want to be stuck in a lab for the rest of my life with no windows and just fruit flies as my companions. I decided, even though I'm an introvert, that's kind of a depressing life to end up doing.
You're saying LinkedIn is better than that.
And now I'm just like, was that the right? No, just kidding. I should have just been stuck in the lab with the fruit flies.
They criticize you a lot less.
I want to. It's fun because I think
all three of us get a lot of that trolling and that hate mail and that
right.
And yeah, all part of it.
I want to get through three different. That's so interesting. I want to get through three different things, and so it can't really be a 90-degree because it's everywhere. First off, Daniela. Hi, by the way, Daniela, for your second comment ever on the show. It's kind of a novel, but it's worth reading. It's fascinating how companies and business people want creative people, out of the box thinkers, but in the way these extraordinary individuals look is not normal. Then they suddenly forget the brilliance of these people and focus on those superficial differences. By the way, Annalisa, who again I think is her second day. I feel like, you guys are following each other around the internet. I don't know. Goldie, you look great with black hair. I think that's interesting, but
Goldie would look great with a burlap sack for
no question. You can just take,
something
her
we don't
like
know,
ninja.
Danielle.
Oh, that'll be my next clothing line that I launch. It's the burlap sack line.
I'll look for that.
Gang. I want to talk a little bit about your fandom, because when you said biology, and I know you are a Battlestar Galactica person, I started thinking in my head, the reason you did biology is you could help more robots pass. Now I get why you did what you did. I'm on to you, Raffi. Also, Carol is, because she's not yet clear on this concept, Carol doesn't realize that at least two of us in this video screen right now, probably three, but one of us is better than the other of us.
No, I think it's 2 out of 3. Dun dun. Who is it? Just like Cylons, it could be any of us.
That Galactica thing, you know. So I'm a couple years older than you, probably like one whole human older than you. Generation.
109.
How old? 39.
109.
Well, I could have had you for invitations.
109. Getting in that 3 digits, early 3 digits.
Yeah, 3 digits. So yeah, the first Battlestar Galactica in the 70s was just a blatant Star Wars ripoff, and it was just shenanigans. When the next one came out, like we all watched this, like, whoa, wait a minute, this happened. Were you there the first time, or were you there like when it was all streamable on Netflix and that sort of a thing? And by the way, Marco says, hey, from Portugal. And I don't know Marco, so he must be your pal. Oh, Jack Vincent. This is Vincent's fault. That little immigrant.
Goldie has pals / fans everywhere.
Sorry, get back to me some
Battlestar Galactica.
Battlestar.
Oh yeah, Battlestar Galactica. How did I get into it? So it was pre-streamable, but post on TV. So we're talking DVD era. I watched all of the DVDs in, I think, a month. There's a great Portlandia skit on Battlestar Galactica, if you've ever seen it, but they basically watch it until they lose their jobs and they like the electricity turns off in their house. And that was me. I started watching the first one. I was like, this is pretty cool. You know, this is cool. And I watched the first DVD set and I was like, whoa. And I think I almost became unemployed at the time because I was watching so much Battlestar Galactica. And I think just like the way that Portlandia skit ends, you hit the last one and you're like, great, next box set. And then you're like, this is the end of the series. No.
That's the kind of thing you'd talk about in your LinkedIn videos too, because everybody thinks all your LinkedIn videos were super businessy. They were not, which was another reason people were like, what are you even doing?
Yeah. So like I had some pretty businessy, or I like to filter interesting concepts through marketing and branding. So the first 50 videos I ever did were on branding and marketing of pop culture. So like, what are the numbers and metrics behind Harry Potter, behind Disney, behind Trains in America, or street art posters, like different phenomena that we just kind of see and are familiar with every day.
Listen, I have to talk to Annalisa for a minute, and then you guys can go back to whatever you all are doing. I'm busy right now. But Annalisa, if you got Netflix and you have not seen that new Joe Coy special where he goes and brings all these people back to Manila, it is the most amazing thing in the whole wide world. So, all right, as you were. But now I just saw something else, Goldie, and I got to ask you about it because it's a Galactica thing. Did Sam Esmail do Battlestar Galactica? You know who I'm talking about?
Pull him up because I'm going to.
I'm clicking IMDb. You don't have to.
Need to see him.
I just don't have.
I know you're faster. I'm not Googling right now. See, look, hands off the iPhone.
Her attention is completely on you. This is one thing Goldie's really good at, and I will say it's unusual in the social media space to find someone as good at this as she is. But when she's talking to someone, she's paying actual full attention to them and not Googling things about Battlestar Galactica, but also not checking her phone and not looking around to see who else she can talk to, which is really super unusual at events. You know, do you ever get that when someone's talking to you and they're kind of like looking around, like see who else might come in that might be more important than you? Yeah.
I always feel like that's so disrespectful when you're speaking, whoever you're speaking to, you know. Chris,
this is your show. You can do whatever you want.
On your own show.
Get it.
Yeah, well, you do whatever you want. This is your show.
I'm not used to having Carrie here, like as co-host, which is already weird. And you guys have this whole conversation all by yourself. So listen, just a really quick side note, because your company's name is Warm Robots. You identify as a Cylon. They're going to reboot for no apparent reason Battlestar Galactica again with the guy who made Mr. Robot doing the Battlestar Galactica. So
honestly,
this show
really
Yeah, I have to take a look.
That I'm going to take a look at that.
Segues, it's all connected.
I'm looking.
I know. I'm excited because, you know, Mr. Robot was so interesting. So I am all about anything Android related. That is why my company is called Warm Robots, which super confuses people. There was this hilarious time I was mentoring at a tech event in London, and this group of conservative British men, you know, they sent up the rep because they were all talking to each other. They were like, go ask her, you know, in that very older British man way. And finally, the one brave one came up to my mentoring table and he's like, excuse me, I can't even do the accent. But he's like, excuse me, miss, but Warm Robots, is that a women's product? Is it? And he was trying to ask me if it was vibrators, right? Yeah. Do you make sex toys? And it was hilarious. And I had to tell him, and he was so disappointed that it was not, and it was a social media strategy agency. And I felt disappointed for him, truly, that was the expectation walking up to the table. And then sorry guys, it's just a marketing agency, you know, just. But he went back, he scampered back to his group of friends afterwards. Right. And then he was just like, and I see them whispering. They're like, oh, wow. It's like a group of penguins. They were like, wow.
That's so disappointing. I would expect more from British guys. I mean, American guys, you know, that'd be par for the course. But
no, I think it was already brave that they came up to me and asked that question because the British are notoriously very polite and very shy, especially when they're not drunk and not at a pub. But all bets are off when they're drunk and at the pub.
So I'll tell you a fun fact. So Carol is here, and normally I'd say this in the comments, but she mentioned that you're an introvert and expressed some surprise about that. Not just an introvert, Carol, but a very specific type of introvert where she takes on immediately the role of helper and guide to people she has never met and has no realistic expectation of getting anything from ever. But they'll tell her their problem, and she will endeavor to solve it with them. So if you can imagine that type of introvert draining their energy out to help people for no other reason than because she can, that's the type of introvert Goldie is. So never ask her to solve a complex problem for you at a dinner party because she will do it and you will miss dessert.
I probably will. Yeah. I don't know if anyone's familiar here with Enneagrams, but I'm definitely a 2 wing 1, which is 2 is the Helper Enneagram, which Carrie can definitely vouch for. To the point where it's like, she's like, don't do it, Goldie. And I'm already doing it. So it doesn't
Chris is like that too. This is the reason I bring it up.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I'm shaking my head like I'm totally not that guy. Totally that guy.
Yes,
totally
you
that
are.
guy. And for me, my wing is 1, which is, this is the fun part. So my wing is not power. It's not anything. It's morality. So I'm like a person who wants to help. But if you cross that moral boundary, I will wreck you. Like I will wreck the world around you.
I, on the other hand, have a lot of moral flexibility. So
yeah, Carrie has a lot more moral flexibility, which I love. And Carrie is so fun in the room. I love watching Carrie interact with the same people I interact with because there's a certain amount of healthy fear that Carrie brings with her when people talk to her and they don't know her. And I think obviously when you're friends with Carrie, you're like, what a softie. But when you don't know Carrie, you meet her for the first time, Carrie can be strong and terrifying in this like magical, beautiful way that I wish I came across as sometimes. Yeah. But yeah, we've all been there. We've all seen it. Carrie terrifying
both those thoughts. You ever watch a TV? Well, I don't know if anyone ever does this besides me, but sometimes I'll put subtitles on just because I don't want to miss any nuances in the script or whatever.
Yes.
So every now and you're watching subtitles and you realize that people with hearing impairment don't get all the musical cues that we get.
Yeah.
And I think if Carrie walked into a scene, like the way you're explaining it, it would say in little bold things, it would say menacing music. That would follow Carrie around. Like you just that kind of like one note. And, so that was the first thing I thought. And the other thing I thought was when you said about sometimes you wish you had that, you must, you generate that kind of like cutie poo poo kind of look to you. And that's not really good when you're trying to keep people away from you. No. Do you ever just want to throw down? Do you ever just want to pull out a big ass sword and go for it for a minute? Like I
mean, obviously. And for those that don't know, I used to cosplay all the time, and do it actually semi-competitively. So I have carried around fake swords before and literally poke them at people to get them to stay back and stay away. So, and I can summon all the fury of the Goldie if I really want to. It takes a lot. Like, I'm just not a naturally like vengeful, spiteful person. I sound like a magical being now.
I fill that role for Goldie at Warm Robot.
No, Carrie fills that role for me as the vengeful. But yeah, I think this is true of people, and Chris, I'm sure you understand this. Like, this is true of people who are kind of on that softer side, if that makes sense, on the inside. Sometimes we do wish we were just like more menacing on the outside because it would keep away the crazies. I love meeting like really beautiful, amazing, great people, but there are a lot of very intense people who have very intense energy out there.
You're in LA, Goldie.
And I'm also literally in LA, which I will say LA is actually not as much of the problem as much as it's, you know, I didn't do the marketing speaking circuit all throughout my career. I've only done it since being on LinkedIn. So I got exposed to this whole new world. And it is a very interesting and honestly very intense world to have people recognize you and come up to you. And sometimes people recognize you, come up to you, and it's such a magical, beautiful experience. And then, aka Disney. And then some people come up to you and it's like a broken ride at Universal that the kid peed on.
It's really creepy. Yeah.
It's really intense.
But they make free. And I don't know if this is because of the difference between the way I come off and the way you come off. Like, people might talk to me and recognize me. They don't touch me. They'll just go right up to you and go full on like body contact.
Yeah. And so like at the last conference I spoke at, because this was the beginning of coronavirus, basically, I said no hugs, no touching. And it was really hard for people knowing that there's even a virus to not do that and to respect my space. So that's, yes, me wearing a face mask while flying, because that's normally what I do anyways to stay safe, because I was flying a ton. But I think that there's like a lot of, there's really interesting lack of boundaries sometimes when you meet somebody that you're really impressed by and they have this like very warm personality. So you think,
want to make contact.
They want to physically make contact. And now I think a lot of us are stay at home. So we're all like, I miss hugs with my friends. Like, I think especially now we're missing that human contact. But, you know, there are literally strangers that I've met who have cried at meeting me. I remember I have a few fans who are on the spectrum, on the autism spectrum. And one of them, he met me, he just started bawling in front of like 2 or 3 of my other fans. We're at a party.
Big deal, Goldie. I make people cry all the time.
Carrie, you make people cry in that different way. Carrie's like making them cry and then they walk away forever and they're like, I'm never doing marketing again. Yeah, one of my fans was just like bawling. And so, you know, this is a person I normally never would hug, but he was just a person that needed that hug. And it wasn't creepy. It wasn't, you know, it just was like a human that was overwhelmed by the situation. And how could I not hug that person, right?
Dogs, kids, and people, everybody. You just got people come running.
Yeah. It's the dogs I like.
Not unlike Chris. Again, I feel like you guys are parallel in a lot of ways because a lot of people make free to hug Chris as well. He just seems rumpled and huggable.
I'm very huggable. The thing I was thinking about as you were saying that is that it's so interesting if you sort of thread this together. Again, people don't know you. You come here to catch up. They're catching up with you, right? They don't know. So to know you is to see there's a thread in there though. Misfits, outcasts, the kind of strange people, and the fact that regular people could actually probably do to be a little more strange. The sci-fi fandom is full of all these, you know, incel boys and all these weird little troll boys that just don't have a lot of social connection. You know, not joking, they have to post things at cons that say things like, don't forget to shower, you know, because, and it's not, it's just they don't know. You know what I mean? They think no one can smell them because they can't smell them.
Oh,
and that's part of the deal. But the reason I bring it up is because then you go to cosplay. Cosplay has, people who love and respect the art, and it's a fandom like no other kind because you're in the role and you become the role. And so it's a thing. But cosplay has a bunch of oglers and scary people who you just cannot separate those things. And then you come to business, including LinkedIn, which some people think is Tinder. It's
somebody has asked you if you had a costume on. I remember this at a business event at a corporate headquarters.
That's right. Carrie, you were there in person to witness this. They were just like, are you wearing a costume? And I'm like, no, I am me as a human being, but thank you for asking.
And first of all, why would you say that? Even if you
don't mean to say that's funny, but it's super funny because they just boo, their head blows right off.
Yeah, I know. They were just like, wow, that's just you. And I'm like, yeah, like, this is just me. And I get this, to this point, I get this so much. I mean, I have green hair normally, mostly green hair. And I like to wear like what I consider pretty cute clothes. And I just think it's fun to dress the way that you want to dress and present yourself the way you want to present yourself.
Even if that is a little yellow Walt Disney World t-shirt.
Yes. Carrie's going to make endless fun of me. Our friend Amber Osborne, who is not on this chat right now, but maybe is watching.
Miss Destructo on Twitter.
Miss Destructo on Twitter. She was in my hotel room. We're at an event for a brand, and I was exhausted. I think I just come from Florida. I was just back to back trips, and we were in Vegas, and we were going to a party, and I thought, I showed Amber this outfit. I was like, Amber, is this okay? It was a bright yellow Walt Disney World. And this is a corporate party. It was a bright yellow Walt Disney World t-shirt because I had just come from vacation at Walt Disney World with bright yellow short shorts. And then it doesn't really matter what's on my shoes because at that point you can already see the camp outfit that I'm wearing and the fact that I look 12 when I wear it. So Amber takes one look at me and she's like, change immediately. She's like, you can't go downstairs looking like that. So I changed into what I thought was a more adult outfit. We get down to the security queue. Security guard lets in everyone else except for me. And then he's like, Miss, he looks at my ID and he's like, when was your birthday? What sign are you? And then I realized he thinks I'm not 21 and so is refusing to let me into this corporate party. And I was so honestly amused by that. I mean, I would have been less amused if he actually hadn't let me in. But, it was so hilarious to me because this happens a lot. Like,
because they were going to crash the corporate party.
Yeah, because they thought I was like this 20-year-old trying to crash a corporate party.
Because that's what we did for amusement back when.
And I'm like,
bars are hot, yo.
I guess. Like, I'm there with my backpack, and I'm like, hey guys, no, I swear I'm over 21. Like, and they really didn't believe me there, which is sad, but it was so funny.
It was funny, but you get some really cool opportunities being in LA. Like Westworld had invited you to this really cool event. Was it at South by Southwest or something? They did like a whole experience.
Yeah, actually that was at CES. So I got invited to this really cool Westworld dinner to celebrate season 3 where they memorized, and I brought, because I'm cool like this, I brought my friend who's also at the time was my videographer, and they memorized everything about us that was available online to reflect season 3 of Westworld, which has a AI that knows everything about you. So they were like, they turned to somebody at my table and they were just like, so how are those 2 bike tickets going? And she was like, what? And she's like, I don't even remember posting about that. And they had like really dug into our social media and found all of these really crazy things. And they had a host at our table who had memorized all this stuff about us and was just like regurgitating it back and asking us all these questions. And it was creepy and also fascinating at the same time. But mostly it was free food, which was really what I was there for.
Of course, I was like, warm robots, Goldie. It's like you lived it.
I know, I lived it.
You lived your brand.
It was really fun. I really like the activations that Westworld does. I am actually really sad because the year before Westworld launched, they did an activation at Comic-Con that was like you could choose the cowboy hat. So like the white or black classic Westworld cowboy hat for that. But I do miss that Comic-Con will be not in person this year.
Which one are you going to pick? Which hat were you going to pick?
Yeah, that's what I'm into.
Carrie, what do you think I would pick? Chris, what do you think I would pick?
I'd say white.
I agree.
You know,
what do you think I would pick?
Oh, God, Carrie. We have to even go into that at this point.
Well, I might steal a white one so I could pass.
You know, I think I would probably, it would either pick white, which is the obvious choice, or I would pick black, and then I would just mess it all up because I would be too good. Yeah, I would be like an agent of, that's actually probably what I would do, because I do love me some Darth Vader. I mean, I love Cylons. Like, I'm always for those bad guys, but I feel like you can be a good bad guy. This is my motto.
Again, have you met
right to Wreck-It Ralph? I'm not a bad guy. Just because I'm a bad guy.
Bad guy doesn't make me a bad guy. Yes, exactly. I am 1,000% pro Wreck-It Ralph. I think that you can be a bad guy, but not a bad guy. That's actually funny because I just got.
Oh my God, that's the outfit, Goldie.
That's the outfit. In case you guys want to know. That's actually not exactly the outfit. It was a different yellow t-shirt, but that was basically the outfit that I attempted to go to a corporate party in. Mm-hmm. And then Amber had to tell my very sleep-deprived self, this is maybe not the outfit you want to wear to this corporate party.
She's so stylish, though. I'm going to be honest. I wouldn't ask her for fashion advice either, because I'm like, there's no way.
Well, I asked her a yes or no.
Goddess with legs up to here. I can't wear the same things she wears. So asking her for fashion advice doesn't help me.
Amber's fashion is, I mean, impeccable,
so good.
Amazing. She's like a slinky goddess. And here I am in my all yellow child outfit with my backpack. I'm like, hey guys, I'm ready to go. Ready to go network with the professionals.
And I'm like, how wrinkly are these jeans? Can I still wear them?
A collection. It is such an entertainment. You know, you all very much rock your different personas immensely. You know, and that's, I just looked at the time. We all got to get out of here. So this was fun. This was quite the catch up. I am so grateful Carrie Gorgon came and was a co-host instead of Carrie in the comments. Unfortunately, people who are here watching this live and living in the comments, that means you missed about 8,000 facts about Goldie Chan. That is absolutely unavoidable because Carrie usually fills the comments so full of stuff that you could have like, you know, pursuant reading for a few more hours.
Carrie, get back into the comments.
GoldieChan.com. And fact, look for Goldie as a GIF on Twitter. She's actually GIFs.
Yeah, actually, you can find me on WhatsApp if you look up Goldie Chan, or special surprise for anyone watching this live stream, if you actually Google or look up Cylon on a lot of different GIF services, you actually scroll down and you can find me. I'm like half of all GIFs for the word Cylon.
Oh my God, Carol does a terrible idea.
Carrie, I wonder if we know any biology graduates from Stanford. All right.
Already in process.
This has been one of the more interesting and absolutely different versions of catch up that we've ever done. Thank you so much, Goldie Chan, for being here. Thank you, Carrie Gorgon, for being an incredible stand-in co-host. Always the best. Everybody else, I love all of you. By the way, Daniela, everybody else who showed up that, you know, from your random shores, even Zonte came. Like, what a day for me. Thank you for all being here. I will see you again Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern time. My guest is resilience expert, Dr. Robert Brooks, one of the smartest humans on this earth or others, and gave birth to a child now known as Handsome Rich Brooks. This is going to be an amazing catch up as well. Goldie, Carrie, everybody get out. Talk to you later. It's almost fun.